Hayward Field, Eugene, Oregon. We are ready for the women's 4x100 relay, a triangular between Washington State, Oregon, and Stanford. You're looking at Washington State's outstanding freshman, Francesca Green, a freshman from Kennewick, Washington, ran 11:88 just 2 weeks ago at Stanford. And she will be leading the Cougars against the Ducks and the Cardinal today. She will be the anchor, but we go to the head of the race, and we're just about ready to go. In lane number 4 is Oregon, Aisha Wallace, JAMILA Godfrey, LAREINA Woods, and Nicole Commission. Lane number 5, the Stanford Cardinal, Bernadette Armand, Tara Ettinger, Monica Hogart, and Heather Miller, the anchor. Washington State in lane number 6, you're looking at Tori Hall. She'll hand it off to Tamika Brown, Heidi Schultz, and Green trying to bring it home for Washington State. Wallace for Oregon, Armand for Stanford, Tori Hall for Washington State. Quickly out for Oregon, Aisha Wallace, the true freshman. She will be handing it off to JAMILA Godfrey. Godfrey, one of the best sprinters on this squad, opening up down the back stretch. Ettinger for Stanford, Brown for Washington State. It's Oregon with the lead. Godfrey to hand off to LAREINA Woods, Oregon's #1 sprinter. LAREINA Woods, the former Pac-10 100-meter champion, opening the distance for the Ducks. She will hand off to Nicole Commission, their #1 400-meter runner. And here comes
the NCAA Indoor Championships in '96. You're going to see today four of the athletes at 400 meters. Today he'll be running the 100 today. Is it good weight or weight that we have? Meanwhile, for Washington State, a lot of good super individuals. Francesca Green, a true freshman for Washington State, a heptathlete, will be very busy today.
She could be in 4, 5, maybe 6 events. She's going to be a factor all day long.
Well, we keep an eye on her and all the other athletes today. It should be great competition from Hayward Field, a big triangular, Washington State, Stanford, and Oregon. Results from the women's 4x100. Oregon first, Washington State and Stanford. Tom, that's an outstanding time for the Ducks, an NCAA provisional mark.
And it looked like they had more there, Todd. It looked like they can lop off maybe another half second on that time.
We are now ready for the men's 4x100. Lane number 4, Washington State. Lane 5, Oregon. Lane 6, Stanford. For Washington State, Jeff Lightheart. For Oregon, Damian Smith. Washington State, Anthony Bookman. Outstanding football player. It'll be Tony Lee-Kelt for Washington State, Patrick Koo for Oregon, and Damon Dunn. They're pretty even right now. Washington State third leg, Dominic Arnold, outstanding hurdler. Chris Nelson, a high jumper for Oregon. Huron Pig for Stanford. Still too close to call. Final leg, Frank Madu, great sprinter for Washington State. Patrick Johnson for Oregon, and he comes up lame. It's Frank Madu carrying the baton for Washington State. And Washington State with a big win. Madu cruising home, but big concern for Oregon as Patrick Johnson grabbed that left leg. And that could be disastrous for the Ducks. This is the year of the hamstring injury for Oregon. Lamont Woods, Dwayne Ingram, both suffering from hamstring injuries right now. You hope it's just a cramp and not a pull. Let's take another look at that.
Looks like he had to sort of torque his leg when he was waiting for the baton from Nelson.
Right there.
Madu looked very, very strong, very good. He's not playing spring ball this year, and I think that's going to really help him. But Patrick Johnson, as you said, Todd, Oregon needs him in the worst way.
That changes the complexion of this meet completely. Oregon was favored to win the meet, but now that really changes things with the #1 sprinter out of there for the Ducks. Let's check out some of the competition in the women's javelin as we have today with the wind conditions. The javelin throwers into a bit of a breeze. Not too much to knock the javelin down, but if you catch it just right, this is Jennifer Thomas, their heptathlete. All 3 of her throws taken before everybody else, and she got a good one. 150 and 2 inches for Jennifer Thomas. That's a big, big PR.
Huge PR. Her previous best was 137.4. Now she's 150 feet 2.
So the Oregon women off to a good start. The men concerned now with Patrick Johnson coming up lame. We'll be back more from Hayward Field after this brief pause. Hayward Field ready for the women's 3,000 in this triangular meet between the Cardinal, the Cougars, and the Ducks. MILENA GLUSAC for Oregon taking the early lead, under 4 laps to go. Slow first lap at about 78 seconds. Then she has picked up the pace and has extended her lead over SARNA RENFRO and KOURTNEY DUNSCOMBE. DUNSCOMBE, many of you in the Northwest are familiar with her, the former Bend High School runner, state champion a couple of years ago. And you look at GLUSAC, back from an injury-filled second season, looking strong early today.
You can see the lead she has over SARNA RENFRO and KOURTNEY DUNSCOMBE of the Cardinal. Both excellent runners that can run anything from 800 to 5,000 meters. Dunscombe in your picture now.
She's been hampered early this year by a stress fracture in the back area. They expect her to be healthy as the season progresses and would be very surprised if she is not back here in Eugene for the NCAA championships. But right now the story is MILENA GLUSAC. This young runner came to the Ducks from Fallbrook, California, burst onto the scene during her first year in cross country and also track and field. And then last year, a mysterious ailment. I don't know if they ever really figured out what was wrong with her. You look at RENFRO in second right now. But GLUSAC struggled last year, but back in form this year.
And the Ducks are very, very happy to have her back because with her in the 3 or the 5,000, they're very, very comfortable at the Pac-10 level, and she might even make an impact at the NC2A level.
GLUSAC looking strong, running 72-second laps. Last couple of laps, you can see quite a distance she has extended over SARNA RENFRO, another Northwest product from Federal Way, Washington.
MILENA's pace is really, really good. She's on pace to set an NCAA provisional. She could even come close to the 9:15 automatic time for NCAA.
Earlier this year, MILENA ran a 9:20.26 at the Oregon preview. And of course, indoors, what a great 1-2 punch the Ducks had at the indoor championships, with Melody Fairchild capturing the championship over 3,000 meters. GLUSAC finishing second, so the Ducks maximized their points in that meet
They only had 2 competitors, and they finished 1-2.
Fairchild's going to take the day off today. She's planning to prepare for a big 10,000 next week. So in the 3,000, it's MILENA for the Ducks.
The other thing about GLUSAC, you mentioned Melody Fairchild, but 2 years ago, MILENA really had to carry the load by herself as far as the Oregon distance runners were concerned. Last year, Jenna CARLSON burst on the scene and was a real blessing because GLUSAC was out. But now there's much more depth for the Ducks. You talk about depth and talent. Stanford certainly has an abundance of that. Look at RENFRO, 6th last year in the Pac-10 in both the 3,000 and the 5,000. Finished 11th in the NCAA 3,000. And in cross country, 36th at the national meet, also an academic Pac-10 selection.
You can see the pace that MILENA's setting because SARNA RENFRO is a real quality runner, and she's got quite a lead over her.
What about someone like GLUSAC coming back from the indoor season? It's not a time where Oregon really stresses a lot of competition. They like to get a dabble here and there, but running so well indoors and now gearing back up for the outdoor season.
Actually, Oregon doesn't stress indoors at all. They rarely send anyone to the NCAA championships indoors, but both Melody and MILENA wanted to go, and Tom Heinen certainly is a coach who believes that if your runners feel they're ready, let them have a shot at it. It certainly paid off for the 2 of them.
They hit the bullseye, that's for sure. Under a lap to go, about 300 meters left for MILENA GLUSAC. All-American in cross country as a freshman. In fact, was Oregon's first freshman All-American in cross country in a dozen years. So that tells you what kind of a year she had 2 seasons ago.
Anytime you can come in as a freshman and make the all-time top 10 lists at a school like the University of Oregon in both the 3,000 and 5,000, you know you've got a quality runner on your hands.
About 200 meters to go, less than that now for MILENA GLUSAC. And you can see the split time. She's got a chance at that provisional mark, checking back over her shoulder. And 100 meters to go. Good, solid effort running solo on a warm day with a bit of a breeze. And here she comes. Checking that clock. Arms a pumping. MILENA GLUSAC. Good, solid win for GLUSAC. And doesn't look too fatigued as well. A little pixie hair. She's one of the darlings here at Hayward Field, and finishing second for Stanford is RENFRO. There you see the time. Wow, 9:24:34. So not quite as good as a couple of weeks ago, but a solid solo effort.
Very difficult to do all by yourself out there in the wind, and I'm really impressed because it looks like MILENA's completely back.
That is a good sign for Oregon. Let's go to the javelin. Katie Piermont. Good day for the throwers. Into a little bit of a breeze. Boy, if you hit that thing just right, you can have a big, big day. And she likes that one. And why not? 1:54.5. That's a personal best. And she is very happy about that. That's an NCAA provisional mark. And more to come from the javelin. Plenty more coming up here at Hayward Field. The men's 1,500 up next, so stay with us. Start of the men's 1,500 meters. And we would expect today's race to be somewhere in between. For the Ducks, a junior with a personal best of 3:43.39. Well, the Oregon men's team in a state of shock at this point, and now they need help from other areas, and this might be an area where they can do that. Let's set the field. Scott Nicholas, Jason Lund, outstanding runner for Stanford. Gardner, Andrews, Weldon, Kamau, one of those outstanding Kenyans for Washington State, Rick Cantwell, and Mike Prindeville from Stanford.
This should be a great race. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this plays out, because in the lead right now you've got Cantwell with on the inside of him from Oregon, Ben Andrews shaking out his arms right there. But then you've got this whole group of people, all of whom are right around 3:45 shape, and right now they went through in about 48 for the first 300. They're on a good pace. Looks like maybe the Oregon runners are going to try to do some team running here.
Tightly bunched. You can see Cantwell might be the wild card here. He's got some talent. Basically been a 5,000 meter runner for the Ducks.
Andrews, an interesting story in himself. Last year, had that great race, remember, against Kevin Sullivan of Michigan, who went on to win the NCAA championship, finished second in that race in the Pepsi, where he ran that 3:43.39. Fourth at the Pac-10 meet. And still claims to have been a great high school kicker. Telling the story the other day about how he kicked a 51-yard field goal. Well, the media guide has it for 46. It kind of sounds like one of those fish stories, you know. Start off with a big whopper and then you actually measure it. But there he is, right there, number 3, Benjamin Andrews, with Rick Cantwell, his teammate, right beside him.
Got Andrews, Cantwell, Eric Kamau now of Washington State moving up. On the inside with the long blonde hair, Jason Lund. Jason set a PR of 3:45.40 last week, so he's in shape. Scott Nicholas right to the outside of him in the yellow and green, running 5th right now.
Scott Nicholas for Oregon has been kind of the heartbreak kid. Has been oh so close to qualifying for the NCAAs. In fact, last year was the fastest non-qualifier in the 1,500 meters. He'd like to finally get to the NCAAs, which ironically would be on his home turf here at Hayward Field.
Well, in that first lap, which was a fairly slow 62 plus, Scott Nicholas was exactly last in the field and probably around high 63. So I think he went out slowly. He's now worked his way up to 3rd. And right there, you've got the 4 favorites. Andrews leading, Kamau on his shoulder, Lund behind the 2 of them in a Stanford vest, and Nicholas on his shoulder with a bell lap.
So the jockeying for position now as the Oregon runners try to take on Kamau. Nicholas sitting right on his shoulder, but continuing to lead is Benjamin Andrews. He's going to be 22 years old in a couple of weeks, and there goes Scott Nicholas, and the rest of the field follows. And the race is on.
It's definitely a kicker's race. It was a fairly pedestrian 3 quarters.
And here comes Lund on the outside. Those locks of blonde hair flowing as he tries to make his move on Nicholas.
Well, he's a great 800-meter runner, too. So you got Scott Nicholas trying to fend him off. Ben Andrews still in there.
Here comes Lund. He's got 149 speed over 800 meters. Andrews on the inside. Lund on the outside. Andrews trying to hold on, and he does. Oh. And a push by Lund. Kamau 3rd, Nicholas 4th.
Well, the crowd is booing, but Ben Andrews was grandstanding the last 2 strides, and I certainly can't blame Jason Lund for giving a little shove.
In football, that might have drawn a 15-yard penalty. You're not allowed to showboat.
I thought you said he was a kicker, Todd. I thought kickers didn't do that kind of thing.
Kickers never showboat, do they? Well, Benjamin Andrews does get the big win for Oregon. Lund with the 2nd place finish for the Cardinal, and Kamau 3rd for Washington State. Let's go back out to the infield. And in the women's long jump, Francesca Green. She's been oh so close to getting a big legal jump. They claim to have marked her up around 21 feet, although those were on a couple of near scratches. Oh, good jump there. Francesca Green in the 1st round with a good jump. So you see ideal conditions here at Hayward Field. The Ducks just coming off a big win in the men's 1500. A long way to go here in this triangular, so don't touch that dial. Field, today's triangular on Prime Sports, Oregon, Washington State, and Stanford. Want to get you caught up with some of the results. First of all, the women's long jump. We saw that first jump by Francesca Green. She goes on to win it. 20 feet 6 1/4. Great mark for her. Jennifer Thomas 2nd for Oregon. In the hammer, Adam Connolly winning for Stanford. The Cardinal go 1-3. Jeremy Robinson, that's a PR for him. Women's shot put, Oregon. Good start for them. They go 1-2 in that event. Big points indeed. And the men's javelin, Jim Lyle, formerly competed for Nevada, winning it with a best of 2:10. The Ducks go 1-2, big points after the disappointment in the 4x100 relay. Let's go to the women's javelin. Katie Piermine really had a good day today. Good series for Piermine. Gets the provisional qualifying mark for the NCAA. And with that breeze in her face, did a great job. She's off to a good start this season. Piermine improving on her 154. Wins the competition, 162.11. Yeah, little low 5 with Sonia Brewer. And a great, great day for Katie Piermine from Jervis, Oregon. A class salutatorian. There you see the win there. Number 1 in the class today in the javelin as well. As the Ducks go 1, 2, 3. Keep in mind, only the top 2 score in today's scoring. Just about ready for the start of the men's 400 meters. As they are all positioned near their blocks. Looking at Damian Smith there for the Ducks, head bowed. It was a walk-on in basketball this year for the Ducks. The favorite in this event was to have been Jimmy Johnson, but nobody in lane 2, so unless he's running as the invisible man, he's not in this one. So now this race is wide open. What was to have been a Johnson solo run becomes a very tight race, and maybe a chance for Oregon to capture some points they lost because of Patrick Johnson's injury. Ryan Zeeser, he's been all over the field today in a number of events in lane number 3. Damian Smith, we talked about. Schreiner, Arita from Japan, and Abink. So Robin Kianaga, late entry for the Ducks on the inside. Is, remember, if you finish, you get some points. And right now, nobody's really established themselves. Although Damian Smith running pretty good for the Ducks out there in lane number 4.
I suspect the injuries for both Oregon and Stanford in the sprints have really wreaked havoc with their lineups, and they're probably substituting, trying to get some points.
Looks like Damian Smith with a bit of an advantage, and on the outside, Kuni Arita running 1-2 right now.
Arita from Japan is in the lead for the Ducks at the moment.
And here comes Zeeser on the inside, trying to close in lane number 3. Zeeser coming close to Smith, and it's Arita, Smith, and Zeeser. So Oregon appear to go 1-2.
Well, and Zeeser, you got to love him because he's a pole vaulter. So you've got Washington State putting a pole vaulter into the 400 meters, and he almost won it. Here on your screen, he's coming up on the inside, lane 3, but the 2 Ducks, both Arita and Smith, have just enough to hold him off.
Arita just joining the program in the spring. He wanted to come here in the winter, but found out he actually had to be enrolled to do that. And now he's enrolled, and he's a winner today. Check out the team scoring in this triangular. Remember, 7 points for first, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. After 6 events on the women's side, you can see Oregon with a whopping lead over Stanford and Washington State. Ducks so solid in each event, and they have depth as well. That really helps. And an event scoring after 5 events, Oregon with the lead over Washington State. Stanford a close third. All right, let's take a break from the action on the track. We'll be back to Hayward Field after this timeout. To get you caught up to date with some of the results of the events that have been concluded already. Steeplechase, Daniel Das Neves, outstanding, 8:44.26. Just missed the automatic NCAA qualifying mark, but indeed a good time. And how about our old spotter, Conrad Knutson, picking up third there? Great job. Women's 3,000, MILENA GLUSAC, solo job, 9:24.35. The 4x100, the only point scored by Washington State. Women's 100 high hurdles. Armand running strong for Stanford. The men's high hurdles, Dominic Arnold, a dominating performance there by almost 1 full second. Ready for the women's 100 meters. Ought to be a good one here. See the qualifying marks, NCAA and Pac-10. In lane number 1, Emily Pokorny. Tamika Brown for Washington State in lane 2. You're taking a look at Aisha Wallace in lane 3. Heather Miller, lane 4. Francesca Green in lane 5. And as you can see, getting ready for the start, JAMILA Godfrey. Lane 7 is open. Shannon Bollinger of Washington State solo out there in lane number 8. You're looking at first Godfrey and then Fair start. Good start on the outside by Godfrey and Green. It's Green right now taking the lead. Francesca Green, Godfrey close for second, along with Heather Miller. Oh, this Francesca Green is something else, isn't she? The freshman from Kennewick, seasoned beyond her years.
You'd have to pick Godfrey as the favorite going into that race, but you know, Francesca Green never lost a conference race at 100 or 200 in high school, and it looks like she's planning to keep that going. She's out of the blocks very, very well. I really like how technically good she is. She's very smooth. You don't see a lot of flailing going on, and she really took this race and controlled it. Very, very impressive for a freshman.
Talking to Cougar coach Rick Sloan before the meet, he said they didn't want to overextend her today, but the weather conditions so good that they felt she would have a big day. She's already won the long jump and the 100 meters. All right, let's shuffle over to the shot put ring. The Ducks represented by Dusty Carlson. This is the 6th round for Dusty Carlson, the slimmed down version of Dusty Carlson this year. He's lost about 30 pounds. And out over 55 feet. He's been right around 54, 55 for the most part of this year. So Dusty Carlson over 55 feet in the shot put. So Dusty Carlson, that was a foul for him, but Dusty went on to win the competition with a best of 57.9. That's a season best for Dusty Carlson. You are looking at Frank Madu. A day for the sprinters of Washington State so far. Madu anchoring the winning 4x100 relay. And of course, moments ago, Francesca Green winning the women's 100. It's kind of a footballer's 100 here. You see the qualifying marks, and Madu is capable of a 10:20. Pac-10 qualifying marks. But Madu is going to be joined by a couple of Stanford football stars, Anthony Bookman and Damon Dunn. In fact, Bookman and Madu, two of the best all-purpose runners in the Pacific 10 Conference last fall. Remember, no Patrick Johnson in this one for Oregon.
Looks like Chris Nelson's taking his place.
Nelson a high jumper, but he can sprint as well. You see the lineup. Damon Dunn led the country in kickoff returns last fall for the Cardinal. Good start. Bookman looks like he's out quick in lane number 2. Bookman, the closing is Madu. Here comes Frank Madu, the senior from Washington State, cruising through the finish line and winning it. So the Cougars dominating the sprints early today.
Manu was bothered all last year by a hamstring problem, and it looks like he's got that fully behind him. Gets out of the blocks well, got that football start. Those football players are really, they think they're running a 40. You see Chris Nelson just doesn't have the high-end speed. Patrick Koo is more a 200-meter runner. I think Madu's really going to come into his own. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't finish in the top 3 at the Pac-10s this year if he can stay healthy.
And no spring football. He's done with his football, so he can really concentrate on track, and we'll see him later on in the 200 and probably the final relay as well. So the Cougars beginning to make some noise here at Hayward Field. The Ducks with the lead, but the Cougars coming on strong. Things really get interesting between Stanford and Oregon as the depth begins to show for both of these teams. Let's set the field. In lane number 1, SARNA Renfro doubling back here in the 800. In lane 2, Vicky Fleschner from Oregon. In lane number 3, Manal Chakshi of Stanford. Prabhovar of Washington State in lane 4. See Karin Knutson of Oregon, PR 209.53 right there. Sarah Moore of Stanford in lane number 6. Missy Hansen from Washington State, and Robin Sutherland, a local product from Sheldon High School, a true freshman for the Ducks. Twice around the oval. And this should be a fast race, as we have 3 competitors that have run under 2:10.
This should be a great race. They're coming up on the break here. It looks like Robin Sutherland is going out a little bit fast on the outside.
She spent most of last weekend in Arizona in a hospital. So you wonder about her conditioning right now. So Sarah Moore, and she is down. She looks like she got tangled up with Sutherland. So Sarah Moore falls, gets back up. Oh, she's got a long way to go.
Well, that'll put her out of the race. Karin Knutson managed to keep her balance and keep going. Moore was one of the 2:09 runners in the race. This is the other one, Knutson. Behind her, you see Monal Chokshi from Stanford in second, the shorter runner.
Karen Knutson with a PR 2:09, ran 2:09.53 at Arizona last week, coming through at about 62 plus.
Not a particularly fast first lap, except if you've had to hurdle somebody to get out of the way, that kind of takes it out of you. Right now, you see Karin Knutson in the lead with Chokshi starting to come up on her.
Chokshi is the 3,000-meter Pac-10 champion last year. She defeated Karen Hecox in a great finish and trying to run down Karin Knutson, the sophomore from Anchorage. Really came on strong last year for the Ducks. Had 4 PRs, and in fact was victorious against the Cougars, the Huskies, and also won her semifinal heat at the Pac-10.
Well, Chokshi only has a lifetime best of 2:14.21, but she's known for her last 100 meters, and it looks like she's about ready to put it into another gear now. We'll see if Knutson can respond.
Knutson, a much larger runner. Looks like she's got enough to hold on here. Chokshi trying, stretching, but it's going to be Knutson with a good race, under 2:10. And running third for Oregon is Vicky Fleschner. So the Ducks go 1-3. That's a solid run by Karin Knutson.
Well, unofficially 2:08.7. That would be a PR for Knutson, just a sophomore for Oregon.
Last week ran very aggressive. Maybe the key to her success will be to go out, take the lead, run aggressively like she did today, taking the lead early. Hey, how you doing, Karin? Congratulations. Little flair as well.
Oh, here we see they got their feet tangled up. There didn't appear to be any red flag. I think it was just incidental contact, as they'd say in basketball, and or whatever.
No autopsy, no foul. That's what we used to say in Pittsburgh.
And here we come down to the stretch run. You see that Chokshi, 800 is just a little short for her. She was the 3,000 champion at Pac-10 level. She can run a great 1,500. I think she's getting a little speed work here.
She got a lot of speed work.
Unofficially
2:09.
Wow.
That's a 5-second PR. Well, she'll be tough to beat in the 3,000 come Pac-10s. When we come back, more from Hayward Field. Good day for the Ducks so far. Action. Ready for the men's 800 meters. This ought to be a dandy. We have a number of guys that have run around or under 150, including the Pac-10's defending champion, Eric Anderson of Washington State. Set the field, Eric Anderson, Ryan Alleman of Washington State, Scott Nicholas of Oregon, Tad Heath of Stanford, Rusto Kiplangit of Washington State, Greg James of Oregon, Jake Moss of Stanford, Nabil Demlik of Oregon.
Well, and we promised Eric Anderson before this telecast, Todd, that we wouldn't embarrass him because he's only been running for 2 weeks. He's been bothered by an injured ligament in his foot. He's only done a couple of track workouts, so we don't expect him to be a factor in the top 3, but he is the defending Pac-10 champion at this distance, so he's got a lot of pride.
And we've seen that here at Hayward Field in past years where he is just a gutsy, tough competitor. So Kip Glangett for Washington State has a PR of 1:49.91, sophomore from Kenya.
He's followed by Ryan Allerman. So it's Washington State 1-2. Scott Nicholas, who's doubling back from the 1,500, is in third. But look at Kiplangett go. Wow.
Well, he's putting the pedal to the metal, isn't he?
Well, 1:49.91 is his PR, but he looks like he's really ready to run today.
And that was an indoors mark.
Yeah.
15th last year in the Pac-10 cross-country championships. He ran the shorter distances in high school, and now he's moving up in the collegiate ranks, but you can see that speed. Wow, he's destroying the field.
Well, except he's starting to slow down a little bit now. Allerman's starting to come back on him a bit. You can see Scott Nicholas in your picture in third. Oh, Kiplangett, oh, that piano gets heavy the last 50 meters.
Well, he's took the lead from the beginning and never relinquished it. Looks like he's under 150. Alleman second. Greg James finishes third for the Ducks. And another one of those outstanding Kenyans running for Washington State. They've had a staple over the years.
Kiplangat with his eyes on the scoreboard clock.
And officially 149.37. Let's go to the triple jump. One of his teammates across the way on the runway, Hillary Mawindi. First round jump. Remember, third in the long jump earlier today. This guy's got some serious hops.
Ooh, nice technique. Very nice. Kept the momentum going all the way through the 3 phases of the jump.
Looked to be around 50 feet. Kind of the magical mark for collegiate triple jumpers. We'll check in on him and the rest of the competition a little bit later. Let's check in on the team scoring today. This triangular, Oregon, after 10 events, leading on the women's side, 84.5. Stanford 65.5, and Washington State hanging in there at 63. The men, after 9 events, 74 for the Ducks, the Cougars 59, and Stanford 49. Long way to go here at Hayward Field. 9 events. It's midway through this meet. Just a reminder, up next at 10 o'clock, tune in to the press box. All the day's highlights and scores from around the world in sports. Major League Baseball results and the NBA race for the playoffs. It is all up next on the press box at 10, right here on Prime Sports. Let's take a break here at Hayward Field. We'll be right back. Hayward Field in Eugene. Prime Sports proud to present track and field triangular style here. Stanford, Washington State, and Oregon. Ready for the start of the women's 400 hurdles. You see the NCAA qualifying mark, 57.65. The Pac-10 qualifying mark, and we've got a number of competitors in this race that have already met that standard. A number of them very close to breaking that 1 minute mark. That's what they would like to do. Let's set the field. Tori Hall of Washington State, Amy Henderson of Stanford, Tish Hennis, the outstanding multi-event competitor, only a freshman for Oregon, Nicky Booth, good solid hurdler for Washington State, Bernadette Armand, and Tamara Search, who's already competed today in the long jump. How about this Tish Hennis? She looks like she's going to follow in the footsteps of Kelly Blair. And you're looking at lane 3, Amy Henderson. And there's Hennis. Had great success here a year ago in the state championship. Avery, Hall, Henderson, Hennis, Booth, Armand, and Search.
This could be a 5-person race. Any one of 5 people could win it. You've got a lot of experience in people like Nicky Booth in the event, and then you have people like Tish Hennis. It's kind of brand new to them.
Brand new. This is the first year she's run the 400 hurdles, obviously, and she has set PRs each time out. And she's out to a good start now. Hennis has the lead with about 200 meters to go. Look at the stride.
Way to tell who's winning in this race right now is to watch as they go over the hurdle. Who clears the hurdle first? Looks like Tish Hennis has got a nice sizable lead, followed by Search and Booth.
Here comes Tish Hennis. They say she's a great competitor, and you'd hate to have to catch her after the final hurdle. It doesn't look like anybody will. True freshman from Baker, Oregon, to the line and winning it.
Winning it, a race that was doped out to be a very, very close one, but she just destroyed that field.
Nicky Booth second, Tamara Search third for Oregon. So you can see Oregon's depth beginning to tell its toll here. They go 1 in 3 in most of the events today.
Yeah, not the greatest form in the world, but look how strong she is. You know, you mentioned Kelly Blair, the previous multi-event star at Oregon. Stanford's got Tracy Lawyer. And of course, we've seen Francesca Green. You see the multi-event women and how they're able to go and compete in 4 and 5 events, do very well in all of them. Tish Hennis, winning it, going away.
So maybe a little disappointed over her efforts in the high jump today, only 5-1, but she comes back strong in the 400 hurdles. Big win for Tish Hennis. She is a bright star for Oregon. Out to the triple jump, Hillary Mawindi in the triple jump. He will be a factor at the Pac-10s, no question about it. Fouled on his first round.
In lane 5 from Stanford, that's 53-31, it's Jeff Allen.
And if that's illegal, that's around 50 feet.
Technically not as good as his first foul. I think he's having a little trouble with the aiding wind. You know, sometimes that can scoot you down the runway so fast that you miss the board.
His personal best, 51.9, set at Eastern Kentucky. He's from Zimbabwe. And we'll keep our eye on him a little bit later on as well. Let's go down to the track once again, the men's 400 hurdles. See the qualifying marks. And you might want to put a blanket over this field. Everybody really tight. Jeff Allen maybe a slight favorite for Stanford. So out quickly for Washington, or I should say Stanford, is Allen.
Jeremy Alden is in lane 3, is out pretty well for the Ducks.
Alden may have a bit of a lead right now. Alden with a best of 54.42. That was last week, so he's running well right now. And Bushnell in the far outside lane trying to double back from the 110 hurdles, struggling a little bit with his form. Here's Alden, and now the race begins.
And Jeff Allen in lane 5, big, strong kid. He's coming on. Oh, look at this. He's going to run away with it. Yeah, very, very strong runner. Plays special teams for Stanford football, and you can see that strength.
It looked like Tyson Allen nosed in there for second.
And Jeff Allen, another Northwest kid from Olympia, Washington. He's they awarded him the game ball against Cal in the big game this past year for his outstanding special teams work.
This is only his second year running this event. Last year, in his first year, was a Pac-10 and U.S. Junior qualifier.
He's got surprisingly good form. I say that not to take anything away from him, but it's just that you don't particularly think of these big, strong football player type guys as being good technicians. Had a little problem over that last hurdle, but if he can get things sorted out, he can run very well later on in the season.
So win for Stanford in the 400 hurdles. It was an event that pretty much was a grab bag, although Allen we thought would be the favorite, and he did hold on, coming on strong down the stretch. All right, let's take a timeout. Beautiful day here at Hayward Field. The Cougars, the Cardinal, and the Ducks going at it in triangular track. Let's go to the high jump apron. This is Chris Nelson. Already is off to a great start this year. 7.4.5 indoors, went 7.2 last week. He's looking to go 7.5 sometime this year, but right now the concentration is at his first attempt at 6.10. Former high school champion from Mazama, Oregon. And he misses there.
Again, that wind at his back, it's really picked up now, and I think it's kind of shoving him into the bar before he can get his technique down at the top. Wind's at his back as he needs to plant a little bit farther out from the bar because of that wind. See how he sort of slides in towards the pit, and he's hit it on the way up. So he's got to adjust his stride pattern to take into account the wind to his back.
So Nelson will have 2 more attempts at 6.10. Meanwhile, action going on across the way in the triple jump. Greg Blakeney up for the Ducks. What's this, 6 straight years the Ducks looking to score at the Pac-10 meet in the triple jump. First it was Todd, was a champion. Now Greg, he's the leader. Oh, he's over 50 feet. Oh, good jump.
And that's why the Blakeneys are so great, because they really do get into it. They're able to come through when they need to. Todd, his older brother, was exactly that way, and Greg seems to be carrying on the family tradition. Nice aiding wind. I'm sure it's over the 2.0 meters per second allowable, but carries his momentum very well through the 3 phases of the jump. He likes it.
I think these guys just like our TV coverage. 53.2?
No.
Oh, man.
What a jump, even if it is windy, and I think it probably will turn out to be wind-aided. That is an excellent jump for Greg.
That's better than his brother ever did, right?
Yeah.
We remember his brother in the Pepsi meet a couple of years ago added all the drama that we'd ever need in the triple jump, winning on his final jump. And now his brother comes through with a big jump. Chris Nelson pacing off his markers in the high jump, missed his first attempt at 6'10". Young man improved by 8 inches in the state championship his senior year. He's multi-talented as well. He can triple jump. He'll run some of the sprints and relays too, as we've seen. That's much better form. And over on his second at 6'10".
The challenge for Chris is, don't forget, he just ran the 100 meters. He's kind of hyped up, and he's starting to rush his jumps. That time he slowed down. He got into his good stride pattern. We'll see it on replay here. Concentrating, keeping a nice, steady pace towards the bar, then quick, and up. Very nice.
So Oregon doing well in the jumps today. Blakeney in the triple, Nelson in the high jump, and Jody Mortimer won the long jump. All right, women's 200 meters. The Ducks going with their best 1-2 punch right here. LAREINA Woods and Nicole Commission. And away they go. Keep your eye on Tamika Brown in lane 4 as well.
Woods in 5 is out very strongly.
So it is Woods clearly ahead of the pack. Commission in lane number 2 coming on strong along with Heather Miller. In fact, Commission just almost caught LAREINA Woods at the finish there.
Very close.
Wow.
You know, LAREINA got a fabulous start. She ran that first 100 very strongly, and I wonder if it didn't come back to haunt her. Right now we see LAREINA, at this point she's got a good strong lead. Of course, the 200, you can't just run the whole thing absolutely flat out like you do the 100 meters. You can actually tie up a little bit in the 200. I think she ran the first 100 very fast. She's got a good lead here. On her left, you had
a little glance over there to her teammate.
Tamika Brown, and looking at Commission on the inside.
So LAREINA Woods, the winner in the 200. She was a 4-time state champion in both the 100 and the 200. Well, a reminder for all of you Duck fans, Monday night, still the home to Duck Sports Journal. Every Monday night at 10:30, tune in and see the show that takes you inside and gives you the angle on all aspects of varsity sports at Oregon. I'll be joined by Peg Reese and Jerry Allen as all of us take a look at the spring season ahead. Monday nights, 10:30, right here on Prime Sports. Well, let's get caught up with the team scoring so far. Triangular, 7 points for first, 7-5-4, 3-2-1, 7-5-3 for relays. After 12 events, Oregon with a 7-point lead on Washington State. The Cougars making their run right now. We'll be back with more from Hayward Field in a moment. It's the way we go for the start of the men's 200 meters. Things getting a little close now on the men's side, Tom, with Patrick Johnson out. Opens the door a bit for Washington State to take advantage, and in this case, it would be Frank Madu. He has already anchored the winning 4x100 relay, victorious in the open 100, and now here he is back in the 200.
Madu will be in lane 5.
See the field, Ruffin, Lightheart. Number of changes here now for Oregon with Johnson out of the competition. Pig, Madu, Koo, Bookman for Stanford, and LeKelt for Washington State. But Madu is the one to keep your eyes on. PR of 21-19. That was set just 2 weeks ago against the Cardinal. Good start. And Madu is out quickly. Madu with a solid lead around the curve.
We'll see if he does what LAREINA Woods did, go out fast and tie up a little bit, but it doesn't look like he's showing any signs of that. Oh, what an impressive run.
He's in there for second, but
Madu
didn't even break a sweat.
Time.
And that's a big second place for Patrick Koo as well.
Certainly Oregon trying to hold on to its lead because Washington State's got a lot of points left out there in the field. And with Madu looking so good. Got a good start. Oh, super jet. Look at that. Now he comes up on Koo, and Koo does a good job of staying in there. You know, psychologically it's tough when someone comes up on your inside and goes by you like that. But right here he straightens out. Look at the form. Very textbook. Very nice. Compact.
Short, powerful, strong young man. Led the Cougs in rushing in football last year. He was always a thorn in the Ducks' side. That single back formation of theirs up at Washington State. Well, he's a part of 3 Washington State winners today. 100, 200, and the 4x100. Let's go to the high jump. Chris Mosley in the high jump. First attempt, no. So he would appear to be the guy most likely to battle it out with Chris Nelson. We'll get some real good duels in the jumps left to go. You got Chris Nelson and Mosley in the high jump. Now Nelson back. First attempt at 7 foot 1/2 inch. Yes.
Looks like he's got that wind situation sorted out because he cleared that by a couple of inches.
And coming back in another run. Well, so Nelson now with the psychological advantage, the first one to clear 7 foot 1/2 inch. A couple more events left for you on the track. We've got the women's 1500. That ought to be a dandy. The men's 5,000. Oregon looking to score big there with Karlsson and Matt Davis. Still, we need final results from the triple jump as Mawindi battles Blakeney in the triple jump. Mawindi currently in second. 4th round triple jump. Blakeney with that 53.2. I'm still shaking my head on that one.
Isn't it interesting how it always seems to come down to the triple jump when there's a Blakeney involved?
Yes, it does.
These are big points here.
And it may indeed come down to the final relay. Although the Ducks in the 5,000 could really score big points. Of course, the discus competition going on as well. Washington State is strong in that event. 4th round, triple jump, and throttles down for a scratch. So we'll keep up on the triple jump, the high jump, and the rest of the action here at Hayward Field. Too close to call right now, so come on back. To the triple jump we go. Greg Blakeney, the leader at 53.2. Another good jump, but after you've gone 53, 50 feet doesn't look very good, does it?
How are you going to keep them down on the farm when they've seen 53 too?
Back to Mosley in the high jump for the Cougars. So he had the height. That was 7.2.5, his first round. So it looked like he had the height, but got caught up with his ankles there. And we're just about ready for the women's 1500. Stellar field. And some true freshmen in this as well that will be heard from in years to come. You see the qualifying marks there.
Appeared like there was almost a false start, which would be terribly embarrassing in this race, particularly since there's a no false start rule in the NCAA, so that anyone who false starts is automatically out.
There's the field. And a couple of young pups in this one, Mary Cobb and Marie Davis, who will be battling over the course of the next 3.5 years in the 1500 and upwards in the 3000 as well. We'll get back to the race. It's just getting started. Women's 1500. We want to get you right out to the high jump apron. First attempt, excuse me, for Nelson here. 7.2.5. And just missed. So Nelson and Mosley still left in the high jump. Got
Dina Day of Stanford in the lead now in the 1500. coming up on 1 lap. Looks like a fairly pedestrian pace, particularly for these women.
Well, Dina Day is a multi-sport star for Stanford. Also competes in soccer, believe it or not. Was a starter for this Stanford soccer team. You think, well, you know, maybe they weren't very good. Well, they were ranked 9th in the nation. So a great athlete running here in the 1500. Ran 4:25:30 a couple of weeks ago.
And right on her shoulder is Mary Cobb, the fabulous freshman. She's more a longer distance type, but just stepping down, getting some speed work. As a freshman, she can experiment with distances, and right now, Stanford Cardinal running 1-2.
Cobb, the freshman from Santa Barbara, has ranged from the 800 up to the 5,000. She was the #1 runner for the Cardinal on the cross-country team that finished 9th in the NCAAs.
And she did run 4:41 for 1600 as a high schooler, so she's got that kind of experience at this distance. It's not that she's not good at it. It's just that I think she's eventually going to be in the top 2 or 3 in the NCAA at 5,000 or 10,000 meters.
And Marie Davis just trying to stay within hailing distance here. Davis recently back from South Africa, where she competed in the World Junior Cross Country Championships. Tom, you'll be making that flight to South Africa here shortly, so you can tell us tales about those 40-hour flights.
Well, it was 36 hours for Marie on the way back, and I don't think she's recovered yet. But right now, you've got some good team running going on by Dina Day and Mary Cobb. Just kind of easing through it. They've got a nice gap so that Marie Davis is having to fight that wind all by herself in 3rd.
You know, if you have a strong running program, this is what you like to have. You have the senior in Dina Day from Mercer Island, Washington, kind of as a teacher and guiding along the freshmen from Santa Barbara, who someday may be as good as they've had down there at Stanford, and that's saying a lot. One of their coaches is Patty Sue Plummer. Bell Lab.
Dina Day was 2nd in the Pac-10 last year at 1500, so you know, I would expect her strength would be pretty established over this last lap. But Mary Cobb, you saw how easily she was running on the shoulder. I suspect they'll just kind of try to ease it on in since they had the race well in hand. But you never know.
Sometimes seniors don't like to lose to freshmen, too.
Good point. Well, and as we see it here, Mary Cobb is going for it. Just over 200 meters to go. Now, if Dina Day has got anything left, she'll want to tuck right in behind her and then try and come back on her as they straighten out in the home stretch.
So Mary Cobb with about 150 meters to go. From Pittsfield, Massachusetts.
Dina Day ran 4:25 PR just recently, so this is very impressive for Mary Cobb. You can see that Dina is not giving anything away. She is trying all she can to come back on Mary Cobb.
Tell you what, pretty good times here as well. They're going to run under 4:25, around 4:22.
Well, and the way they ran that, going out very slowly and then coming on strong. Dina Day, of course, doing all the work until that last 230 meters, but still very impressive for both the runners, and another PR for Dina Day.
Wow. Marie Davis, by the way, the first race on the track here at Hayward Field as a Duck. And just now finishing out of the picture, Jenna Carlson, who we might add just kind of getting back in the swing of things for the Ducks. She kind of carried the load last year, and she's just getting back into it right now. But good win for the Cardinal. 1-2, Cobb and Dina Day. All right, let's go back out to the high jump apron. Mosley getting ready, 7.2½.
No, he just doesn't have the technique now. He's looking like he maybe is...
well, he's in new territory.
Yeah,
up over
this
7
is...
feet.
It's starting to look a little tall for him.
Yeah, his best is 6'10 3/4. And to Chris Nelson. His best last week outdoors, 7.2, and that's right where he's at here. 3rd attempt. He is out.
Good attempt, though.
So over 7 feet again for Chris Nelson, but unable to match last week's efforts at Arizona.
The goal here is to keep your approach nice and steady, until you come right close to the bar, and it looks like he got a little close to the bar before taking his takeoff jump. Didn't really have it. He's talking things over now. Still a good win for him.
You see the team scoring still close. 107 to 100. Stanford not that far behind with 85. The women, all Oregon right now, as they have extended their lead, 122.5 to 93.5. But you can see how close it is between Washington State and Stanford for second. It's after 14 events with 3 to go for the women. All right, Cougar fans, Tuesday night still home to Crimson and the Gray at 10:30 on Prime Sports. Join your hosts Bud Namick and Carolyn Herb as they preview the upcoming spring season as the competition begins this week in conference play. The Crimson and the Gray, Tuesday night at 10:30 only on Prime Sports. So Hayward Field still beautiful outside. A couple of events to go. Don't go away. We'll be back with the men's 5,000 at Hayward Field. 5,000. A lot of guys in here are fresh. Only 2 doublers coming back. Eric Kamau of Washington State and Ernie Amons of Washington State doubling in the meet today. The Oregon runners are fresh, as are those from Stanford. Well, and right off the bat, the 2 favorites, Matt Davis and Carl Keska, jump out to the lead. You got a host of runners here. Remember, only 6 of these guys are going to score. Stanford throwing in 4 runners, the Cougars with 3, the Ducks with 3. So sit back and enjoy this one.
Well, Matthew Davis ran a fabulous 10,000 meters 2 weeks ago, 29:01. And the interesting thing about it was that he ran the last 5,000 of that 10,000 in 14:16, which was a PR for 5,000 meters for him.
Davis, one of 2 Davis brothers on the Oregon team. Micah Davis is a true freshman, been dabbling in the steeplechase. Matt Davis, of course, a tremendous career up there at Meade High School in the Spokane area. A dominating cross-country program under the guidance of Pat Tyson, former Oregon runner. Let's go back out to the triple jump. I want to keep you up to date with Mawindi, who is currently in second. This is his final try. 6th round. 49.11 is his best so far. That's a little disappointing, and that's going to be his best for the day. Doesn't have the steps down. And so Blakeney is going to win it for the Ducks with a whopping 53 feet 2 inches. Those are swing points, Tom. You know, we talked early in the meet, right off the bat, the 4x100 for Oregon, as we're back to the 5,000 here. Losing Patrick Johnson, that Oregon, even though they had a little cushion, was going to have to make up some points bit by bit. And maybe in the triple jump, they got a couple they didn't expect.
Well, and here they're hopefully going to, you see that Eric Kamau is doubling back. Washington State, from its standpoint, wants to have him come and score some points in this race, too. If he can break up the 1-2 for Oregon, that will really put Washington State into the team race.
All right, let's get you caught up to date with some of the results. Earlier finals. Women's high jump. Tracy Lawyer from Stanford, 5'8 3/4 to win that. KATRINKA Jackson, by the way, is a native Oregonian from Astoria. Jennifer Thomas, good solid 3rd. Chris Bowden from the Cardinal picks up the win in the pole vault. Shot put. Good day for Dusty Carlson. Back on track there with that 57.9. Pete Swanson, he's a close to a 60-footer. Didn't have his best day. A football player as well. Chris Nelson wins that high jump over 7 feet. And then triple jump. See Washington State, Stanford, Oregon represented there. Nobody able to crack that 40-foot barrier. And back to the 5,000 we go. Carl Keska with the lead. Young man from England who, after the collegiate track season, has said that he'd like to go back to England and maybe do some running this summer and maybe make a shot at that Olympic team over there.
Well, Keska and Davis, I think their game plan here is to maybe try and get that at least provisional NCAA qualifying time of 14:12. You know, the irony is if you'd had a clock on the last 5 of Matt Davis's 10,000 meters, he might have been able to qualify in that one. Looking pretty comfortable. Karl Keska, the Ducks standout in cross country this past fall. Matt Davis, who ended up being the top cross country finisher for Oregon in the NCAA championships.
Yeah, Keska, the Pac-10 champion in cross country, beat Bob Cano of Arizona by 3 seconds in the cross country. Last spring had a kind of a disappointing run at things. He qualified for the NCAAs, but had a virus that really caused him some problems, was not at full strength. And that's one of the things that Bill Dellinger wants to do with his distance corps this year, is to get those guys healthy and ready at the end of the season for the Pac-10s and the NCAAs. These guys would all love to be able to compete at the NCAAs right here at Hayward Field. So that's the goal, but you have to get there first of all. And maybe this is the efforts by at least Keska to do just that. Davis already has his ticket in the 10K.
Good shot of the two of them there. You know, Matt Davis running that 29:01 as a freshman put him 11th on the all-time Duck list at 10,000 meters. And I was asking Dellinger, you know, if that was his game plan to have a freshman run a 10K, and he pointed out that there were a number of freshmen from Oregon in the past who had run a 10,000 early in the season. People like Steve Prefontaine, Alberto Salazar, Rudy Chapa. So this is not out of the ordinary. I think it was a pleasant surprise to everybody that Matt Davis came through so well in the first 10,000 of the year.
Well, the other thing it did, and I talked to Matt about this, is he gets his ticket to the NCAAs out of the way. The rest of the season he can concentrate on then peaking at the end of the season. He doesn't have to worry about running a 10K next week or at the Pac-10s or whatever to try to qualify. It's a big relief for anybody to get the qualifying out of the way early.
Well, here of significance in the team race, Eric Kamau, who was in third, appears to have dropped way back now. And if he had been able to get third, that would have been 4 points for Washington State. As it is now, Washington State's going to lose big points if he's not able to get back into it.
Talk about that Stanford contingent right there, number 160, Gregory Jimerson. He's another 10K guy, ran a 29:22 2 weeks ago, and that is a provisional mark as well. So he has to feel pretty good about what he has done there. And as a result, he can work his training around that 10K later on this year. He finished 4th in the Pac-10 10,000 last year to Keska and Davis, who went 1-2 for Oregon. Jimerson now, as are all the Stanford runners, kind of in a high volume training period. And they'll be cutting that back, of course, as the weeks go on. Jimerson running about 100 miles a week right now.
Matt Davis, Karl Keska still 1-2. There'll be 7.5 laps to go, and now Keska taking the lead. The obvious game plan is to share the pace.
Well, as they continue in the 5,000, Keska and Matt Davis 1-2 right now. A reminder, next Sunday on Prime Sports, it is Northwest Pac-10 baseball at its best. The Washington State Cougars host the University of Washington Huskies. The Cougars always tough, and got some great recruits as well. They should be one of the surprise teams. That'll be next Sunday at 9 a.m. only on Prime Sports. Back to the 5,000. Keska Davis 1-2 right now. Keska coached in his formative years by Ian Stewart. And for those of you unfamiliar with Ian Stewart, kind of legendary for Oregon fans in that back in 1972, the Olympic Games, it was Ian Stewart who nosed out Steve Prefontaine to capture the bronze medal in the 5,000 meters. So Ian Stewart will forever be remembered here in Eugene for that reason.
Well, another reason he may be remembered is he actually suggested to Karl that he come to Oregon. And to my knowledge, Ian Stewart's never been to Oregon, but I think it's a high compliment that he would suggest of all the universities in America that he come to the University of Oregon.
Well, the rhythmic applause of the crowd in the West Grandstand as the runners into the shadows on this warm, breezy day at Hayward Field. Keska opening up about a 5-meter lead over Matt Davis.
Well, I think that what he realized was that they're falling off the 14:12 provisional pace that they need to make it to the NCAA, at least provisionally. The automatic is 13:52.50. I think that's out of reach right now unless Keska really is going to put his head down and go. But that 14:12 certainly should be attainable by both of them.
Hear the applause in the background. You might think it's a little unusual, the applause near side for the runners on the far side, but that's because here one of the traditions at Hayward Field is that the winners take a victory lap. And Oregon's double winners, Chris Nelson and Greg Blakeney, in the jumps, getting that honor today. Late in the meet, Oregon making some noise. With a sprint corps that's been decimated, their top 3 sprinters out of this meet. Hope to have them back later on. Of course, the Pepsi Team Championship coming up in 2 weeks here at Hayward Field. Hope you join us for that. As powerful Nebraska, Illinois on the men's side, Washington. And on the women's side, Nebraska, Weber State, Washington. That ought to be a great meet.
Strong lap by Keska. I'm a little surprised that Matt Davis has fallen off so dramatically, because off of that 29.01, he should be able to handle this pace. And maybe as a freshman, he's feeling that pace a little bit from the 29.01 of 2 weeks ago.
It does take a while to recoup from that when you run so hard. Also in this field and way back is another Oregon runner, David Gurry. And we got to talk about David because as we take a look at the leaders, Gurry is the only guy on the Oregon team that has a national championship ring. He's a transfer from Arkansas. So he's got something that nobody else on the squad has right now, although they would like to have in the future. Keska really opening up the lead now, probably 40, 50 meters over Matt Davis. Here's the experience here with Keska. 2 years ago, missed the cross-country season in a mishap while the team was on its annual fall training trip at nearby Odell Lake. Suffered a leg injury, missed cross-country, came back for the spring last year. But strong this year. Let's go to the discus ring. Big Pete Swanson, a football player, defensive lineman, 4th round, currently in 2nd place. 163.1, his best so far. Very strong force in the interior defensive line for the Cardinal, who had a great football year. Foul on that attempt. So he's got a best of 163.1 right now. This is Ian Waltz, the leader in the discus competition. Should be a good day for throwing in the discus, Tom, with that wind coming out of the north. Always remember Brian Krauser and Dean Krauser. Those guys just love days like today throwing in the javelin and the discus. Oh, that's a good one. That's looks like the leading throw right there. Looks like an improvement. So the Cougars not done yet, as they try to make up a bit of a deficit against Oregon.
Waltz using all of the ring here. Reverses. Look at how close he came to fouling. That was perfect.
Up around that 180 line that you see out there. So he's your leader. Back to the 5,000. Keska, big lead. Matt Davis, though, struggling a bit, and the Stanford runners beginning to make up some ground on him.
Got less than lap and a half for Carl Keska. He's got this well in hand, but Matt Davis back in 2nd seems to be struggling a bit. Probably cause some concern for the Ducks if he's not able to run well.
See Keska actually lapping runners at this point, coming up on the bell lap. His personal best is 14 flat, and he's got a shot at that. He just needs to run about a 65-second lap.
Keska stretching it out, looking very good. You know, he ran 8:03, 3:45 double just a couple of weeks ago, showing that he's in great early season form, and here he is extending it out just over 200 meters to go.
And the big battle will be for 2nd as Davis and Jimerson are shoulder to shoulder. But the story right now is Carl Keska. Boy, he looks good.
And he has got almost half a lap on the rest of the field. This is just phenomenal.
And checks the scoreboard as he heads down the final 55, 60 meters. He's going to be right around 14 flat. Under that. Unofficially, 13:55.84. Just missing the automatic NCAA mark. That's a great run. Virtually solo the last 4 laps for Keska. So Keska, strong run. Stanford second, Oregon third. We'll be back with more from Hayward Field after this timeout. Back out to the discus. Big Pete Swanson, second in the competition so far. 5th round. Yeah, he's under 160 there. So not an improvement for Swanson. He's got a best of 163.1. Triple jump results. Oh, what a day for Greg Blakeney. 53 1 3/4 officially, an NCAA provisional mark. And how about Chris Nelson getting a big 3rd place for Oregon? Almost 50 feet for him as well. That's a big 1-3 for Oregon. Big points right there. Late in the meet when Oregon needs to try to distance itself from Washington State. The women's 4x400. LAREINA Woods already victorious in the 200 meters today. She will run the 3rd leg, an All-American for the Ducks. You know, Oregon not known over the years, Tom, as a sprint power, but last couple of years they've made it to the NCAA with some individuals and relays. They've really come on strong lately.
And I think LAREINA is going to be a big factor for them now that she's not playing volleyball anymore. She can concentrate on track and field, and she's going to run this 400 leg. A little bit long for her.
And away we go. Heidi Schultz for Washington State, the 1st leg. Stanford in lane number 5, and Aisha Wallace for Oregon.
And of course, it's a 3-turn stagger, so we won't know exactly how they sort out for almost another lap. But right now, it looks like Aisha Wallace is taking an early lead.
She ran on a in high school a national record-setting relay. So somebody that they hope in future years will pick up where the Kamara Joneses and LAREINA Woodses and Nicole Kinesiones have left off.
Looks like Wallace is going to hand off to LAREINA Woods.
So Woods is going to run the 2nd leg. See the exchange. And it'll be Tori Hall running the 2nd leg for Washington State and Monica Hoggett for Stanford.
Coming around to the break here, Oregon has a commanding lead right at the moment. Interesting when we talked about the running the 4x4 with Tom Heinonen, the Oregon coach, and questioning Godfrey and LAREINA Woods running the 4x4. They think they're the best 400-meter runners for the Ducks, and so they want to be on this 4x4 relay. Look at Tori Hall making up a big gap, now right on her shoulder.
So the Cougars right back into it. And here comes Woods, primarily a 100, 200-meter specialist. And Tori Hall really extending. And now Woods coming back. 3rd leg for Oregon will be JAMILA Godfrey. And for Washington State, Missy Hansen.
Excellent leg for Tori Hall, making up that big gap. Now JAMILA Godfrey.
Stanford about 20 meters behind. So this would put the capper on a big Oregon victory for the women. It's been a solid day for them. They had some breakthrough performances starting from the get-go in the javelin with Katie Piermine. In fact, going 1, 2, 3 in that event. Jennifer Thomas had a pretty good day as well. High jump finished 3rd at 5.7. Here's JAMILA, disappointing 2nd place in the 100 meters to Francesca Green of Washington State, who fortunately for her is going to get a breather here. They're not going to make her run the anchor leg. So it's Godfrey and Missy Hansen making a move. So the anchor leg for Oregon will be Sue Morris, the true freshman from Churchill High School in Eugene. a 200-meter champion in high school a year ago on this very same track.
And for Washington State, Nicky Booth, you know, Missy Hansen is a twin, handing off to Nicky Booth, who is a twin. Nicky has a twin sister, Ricky, and Missy Hansen has a twin brother.
An interesting strategy here as Morris went out strong on the first 100 meters here. Now trying to collect herself for the final 200.
And you can see Nicky Booth winding it up. Yeah, and coming on.
So here comes the veteran Nicky Booth trying to haul in the true freshman. And it looks like she's going to do that. Morris now trying to come back. What a finish. Look at the freshman from Churchill High School. Oh, she comes back to win it for the Ducks.
What a gutty performance. All ready to say that Nicky Booth's experience and savvy was paying off. And that freshman just had another gear over the last 20 meters.
I tell you what, that's how a freshman can make a statement to the upperclassmen.
Well, and give credit to Nicky Booth. She ran the best last leg she could possibly run. She timed it just right, but Sue Morris having something left in the tank coming over the last few strides.
And Morris saying, I do indeed belong on this 4x4 relay.
And this has got to be good news for Tom Heinonen and the sprint crew, because I think Sue Morris looks like she has the potential to really develop into a good 400-meter runner.
Yeah, you throw Nicole Commissione into this mix, and that's a pretty good 4x4 relay for Oregon, trying to get back to the NCAA championships here at Hayward Field. Good finish for Oregon. They started well, they finished well, and in between wasn't bad either. Let's take a timeout. Wrap things up. Coming up, the final event on the track for the men's, the 4x400. This is Ian Waltz for the Cougars. Final throw. Oh, another good one out around 180 plus. He had a good series today.
Excellent series.
Sorry, got to take it back. Tried to give it to you, Ian, but they said you fouled. Still pretty good day for Ian Waltz for Washington State. After 17 events on the men's side, Oregon 140, Washington State 119. So Oregon will win the meet. And coming up, the 4x4, a host of changes here as the team scoring plus injury has precipitated some movement, certainly among the Ducks, as they only have I have two guys in this race that were there originally, and they're not running the same leg. So we'll try to pick them up as best we can. Stanford, Oregon, Washington State on the outside. The opening leg for Oregon is Damian Smith. Well, he's got to be one of the heroes today for Oregon.
And Jeff Allen having a good day. Looks like he's made up a little bit of the stagger.
Tyson Allen, we believe, for Washington State.
This is Jeff Allen on the inside for the Stanford Cardinal.
Second leg for Oregon will be Greg James.
Jason Lund taking the baton from Jeff Allen for Stanford in lane 4. Wow, that last 20 meters, they got a lead. Now Lund, he's doubling back. He had that hard 1500. And I would say he's going out a little fast. We'll find out. Right now, though, he's got 20 meters over second place. Greg James of Oregon.
James, of course, doubling back. A little disappointed in his effort today in the 800. And he's cut that deficit quite a bit.
Yeah, this last 100 meters will tell the tale, because Lund went out very, very strongly.
So Lund will give Stanford the lead into the third leg. For Oregon, Arita.
Kuni Arita of Japan, and the University of Oregon in second.
This is anybody's race right now.
It's like a Tad Heath for Stanford in first. Arita's ran a good race earlier. And now coming up, challenging for the lead.
It's actually Moss for Stanford trying to hold off Arita. Remember, this is the first time Arita has ever competed for the Ducks. Patrick Koo, the anchor.
Patrick Koo's been here before.
Arnold, the anchor for Washington State. Don't count him out. He's the hurdler.
He's got a lot of distance to make up, though. One of those situations where you make it all up in that first 200, you could pay for it in the second 200. Yeah, that's right. I think Koo's looking real good right here.
Well, Koo 2 years ago was basically a 2-400 guy for the Ducks. Sat out last year trying to bring it home.
Dominique Arnold, who won the hurdles earlier, certainly got good top-end speed. Coming on strongly.
Oh, what a finish. Arnold may have caught him. That one was tighter than fuzz on a Whiskers. Oh, man.
Yeah, I think he got him.
I think he did, too.
Looked like Patrick Koo let up at the last couple of strides. Dominique Arnold, he took the baton a good 25 meters behind Patrick Koo, went out strongly. Winner of the high hurdles earlier. He crushed that field right here. He's just all out. Patrick Koo looks like he's still got it in hand, but right here, the last 50 meters, I'm not even sure he was aware that Arnold was coming on. That might have been it. I don't think he ever saw him. He was looking to the inside.
Well, if there was anybody on the inside, he was jogging.
Yeah, I think he didn't see him at all.
Run by Arnold. Wow.
Oh, man.
Remember, this guy is basically a 1:10 hurdler. And he had to make up at least 20 meters on that. What a finish for the Cougars, although it will be the Ducks that come away with the team victory. Conclusion to this meet, Frank Madu and the Washington State Cougars making their run at the Ducks along with Dominic Arnold, but the Ducks do prevail as they win the team championship. 5,000 meter results, look at that. Oregon's Carl Keska with the best 5,000 meters for an Oregon runner in 5 years. 5's, I guess, the wild number right here. And joining us is Carl. Congratulations. I know you wanted to get the NCAA automatic mark, but you get under 14 minutes and a provisional mark.
Yeah, that was satisfying. Like you said, we were shooting for the automatic time, but conditions weren't great. It was a little hot and a little breezy out there. And I know my partner, Matthew Davis, he's had a few injury problems this week. And unfortunately, we slipped off the pace, which I don't think helped us obtain that auto. But nonetheless, it was a good run.
Mm-hmm. Good indeed for Carl Keska and the Oregon men, and the Oregon women victorious as well as they upend Stanford and at Washington State. So a double victory for Oregon here at Hayward Field. A reminder, we'll be back at Hayward Field in 2 weeks for the Pepsi Team Invitational. Oregon, Washington, Nebraska, Illinois on the men's side, and Weber State on the women's.